Hey, what's up guys? Warcrux here. Welcome to the build video. We're just going to jump right into it. This is everything you need to know for the Murkmire patch for ESO and the Mag Sort. I've tried a shit ton of builds out. I've done all the min-maxing. This is a bit of a revamp from my dueling build. Come to my attention that you guys don't give a shit about duels, open world, and BGs, what you guys want. And this is the build I've been running in BGs. And I've decided to take it to an open world build. This build is only for super small group play. You should be running this solo or duos, maybe a 4-man group, but no more than that. This is primarily a 1-man army. So without further ado, let's hop right into it, guys. So first off, we're a high elf. Here's all of our base stats. Look at it there. This is everything completely unbuffed, by the way. Crit resist, spell resist. Back bar is looking as such. About the same. High elf running tri-set foods. Just for max stam, health, whatever. You want a decently sized health pool this patch, just for your shield strength. Running the mage. This is to optimize our ward strength. You can run other things, but I have it down to a T with 23k health. I have the exact CP set up and the amount of maximum Magicka that you need to get the nice 50% cap on your hardened wards. And we are vampire stage 2, by the way. Don't go further than this, otherwise you're just getting absolutely wrecked by DKs, which I have run into me mag DKs in open world just because my class is kind of in a really weird state right now. So here's the passives. Battle Spirit, this isn't serial, by the way, so you have an accurate representation of what your stats will actually look like. Spell damage is a little low, but we're not too worried about that. I'm still hitting 13, 14k frags pretty consistently. This build is very over-sustaining. It's a lot different from my previous builds. Changing some of the words up actually, and we have a lot of flex spots. There's a lot of variety the way you can run this build. So sets. First set we're running spinners with a shock enchant on the front bar. This is just a proc concussion, which increases your damage by 8%. You can either run Nern honed or sharpened. The damage is kind of more or less the same. It really doesn't matter. Nern honed just makes your tooltips look nicer, essentially. Next set we're running, Maelstrom Resto. If you don't have this, it's not the end of the world. You can easily just run a willpower Resto staff. The main reason we're running this is just for the healing over time and the ultimate. We have a weapon damage enchantment on our back bar with our burst rotation. And I'm actually rocking a defending trait instead of infused. Infuse is good, yeah, but defending on your back bar, this is about 5% mitigation, and you do spend a lot of time on your back bar sometimes when you're getting zerged down. So the good thing about this build is that there's a perfect rotation to sustain your Magicka when you're trying to kite away, and I'll go over that as well in this build video. Not rocking poisons, no point. Alright, first set we're running Shoot-ons. This is probably the tankiest 2-piece set that you can run other than Pirate Skeleton. The reason I like this more so is that it frees up a slot, which you have to have because there's just so many abilities that you need on your bars. You don't have access to a third bar anymore. So you kind of need to free up what you can. So this gives you the resistances, health, which helps with your wards, and it gives you your major ward and your major resolve, making you not have to run lightning for him, which is a quintessential buff in this patch because the resistances apply to your wards now. So next set and last set, certainly not least, is Amber Plasm. I like the crit on this. Usually crit wasn't a kind of an issue, but now since everything can be critted, you want a highest spell crit value as possible. You can run Shackle Breaker instead of Amber Plasm, but you would have to change your Mundus out for like the Serpent. You definitely need around 1,000 stamina recovery. If you don't have 1,000 stamina recovery, you're going to find yourself obviously without stamina. But yeah, 1,000 stamina recovery is pretty much all you need. I wouldn't go any more than that. It's kind of overkill. This equivalent to like 4 or 5 roll dodges, and then you pop a pot, and then you roll dodge 3 or 4 more times. So you're really hard to lock down. Roll dodging is very, very good on a sorcerer, and blocking as well to an extent, but you don't really block an open world, especially when you're getting trained by 4 or 5 people. But running mostly in-pen, I do have one piece well fitted on the waist, and when I get enough fucking transmute stones, I will be changing this to in-pen. You want about 2500 crit resist. If you can get that, it doesn't matter how you get it, just get it on your sword. Jewelry, I'm running all recovery. Trust me, guys, you do not need the damage. We have a shit ton of spell pen, like damn near 20k. So even though the tooltips aren't high, you're gonna be hitting kids fucking hard, especially the crits. If you're any other race beside the high elf, I would say instead of one of these recovery glyphs, go with a reduced cost glyph. But since the passives from the high elf, give you the magic recovery, the stacks pretty well. And sometimes when you're kiting, you're not constantly spamming spells like you need to. So you're just kind of like dark conversion, streak. But we'll get into that in just a second. So there's the sets I'm running. I really don't see a better option. You have a sustaining set, damage set, and a tanky set. And then you just kind of align your enchants with the playstyle you want to have. I want to have an over-sustaining setup because nothing's worse than getting ruined in open world just because you run out of resources. So that's a shitty feeling. Alright, so on to the skills. The skills are very important. Alright, 3 skills that you absolutely need. It's frags, cursed, and whatever spammable. Choosing Force Pulse. It's pretty cheap. Alternatively, you can go with the Sigic Order skill line. Elite weapon. The reason I'm going to Force Pulse right now, yeah, the tooltip's higher on Elite weapon, and the cost is about the same, but what you guys have to understand, the Force Pulse ignores 10% of their spell resistances. That's from the the passives of the Destruction Staff skill line. So even though the tooltip is lower, it actually is hitting a little bit harder. Yes, this does apply a status effect, but we don't give a shit about burning or frost. We just want concussed. So, plus it just feels wonky. Like this skill just feels laggy in my opinion. Sometimes you need some instant burst, and you're not going to get it with Elite weapon. So that's why I'm rocking Force Balls. Don't worry about running Crushing Shock. It's just go with Force Balls. Crushing Shock there's not much to interrupt. Now we do have 3 flex spots, including your old Ellie Drain, Inner Light, and Dawnbreaker. You can either, I would suggest keeping Ellie Drain in case you have those really elongated fights, which there's so many tanky classes out now, builds, that sometimes the fights do drag on, and Ellie Drain goes a long way to helping you sustain through them, especially when there's a shit ton of spin to win fucking Stamplars or Stamina Wardens just subterranean Assault, Still Tornado, Still Tornado, Still Tornado. It's all I see on my recaps. Damage, health. I mean, it's ridiculous. So this helps deal with that. Inner Light. If you are rich, don't run Inner Light. So the potions, I guess I should have went over that first, but oh well. Don't even know where the fuck they're at. Now it's up here. Slaughterables. Potions wise, I would run, if you're rich, run Essence of Spell Power. This gives you, the recovery, the crit, and it gives you the burst back, along with your spell damage buff. If you're not rich, like me, run the Alliance, whatever. You can buy these from pretty much any vendor in PvP. It does essentially the same thing, but it doesn't have the 10% crit value, which is unfortunate. If you're in a defensive rotation, let's say if you're kiting or whatever, just run Tri-Stats. The only time you're going to be using your Alliance spell damage pots is to, when you're going in for your burst. Obviously, if you're playing defensive, you're going to need to do that. You need any of the resources possible, so just run Tri-Stats. Don't run Immovable. I just don't like running Immovable. It's kind of takes the fun out of the game, to be honest. You can run Move if you want, if you have them, but it's kind of expensive, so these are just 2 I run for now. So back to the skill tree. Spammable, like I said. You can swap in or light out depending on your group composition. If you're running solo, I would put on Rune Cage, sacrifice the crit, and for your ultimate, run Shooting Star, like Shooting Star because you get your ultimate back a lot. And there's a lot of vamps this patch, so this really does hit pretty hard. So this is a setup I would use on your front bar if you're running solo. The back bar is not going to change hardly at all depending on your group composition. It's pretty much static. If your team has reliable CC or your duo partner, whatever you're running with, just take off Rune Cage. You can either put Rune Cage, Inner Light, or an Execute. Execute did take a pretty hard nerf. You can now dodge roll that debuff that it puts on them, which is really fucking annoying. Usually, last patch you could dodge roll the damage, but the debuff would still be on you. It was still proccing you to still die. Now you can dodge roll the debuff. It's pretty shitty. So if you did run an Execute, if your buddy's running CC, you can take off LA Drain. If whoever you're running with is running LA Drain, you can swap, to a Inner Light, whatever. But this is the setup I would run if you're just by yourself and you like Execute factor. I have a lot of mixed opinions about it. I feel that Inner Light gives you more damage plus more crit. Of course, it kind of takes a little while to set up because you gotta have this on them, you gotta have this on them, you gotta have this on them. And if there's any Templars you're running against, they're just gonna purge all three of these off. I mean, you just wasted 5k of magic and like 3 or 4 seconds just casting for absolutely nothing. So if you're running against a bunch of Templars, I would probably put Inner Light here instead. And Rune Cage instead of LE Drain. Just depends on who you're running up against. But overall, this is what I would run with on front bar. Did a few days of play testing. I mean, this is good. Alright, back bar. First skill running Mutagen. Most people run Rapid Regeneration. That's good on most of the classes. Plus, it stacks well with our Maelstrom Restro, which we're running. If you guys are unfamiliar with the passive, it gives you magic recovery every time you crit with this. You can be at full health, and it still technically crits, and you get the proc from this. This is essentially 200 magic recovery, assuming it has 100% uptime. But yeah, that's why we're running Mutagen. Rapid Regen does give you more ticks, which is more sustained, but you don't need to sustain on this build whatsoever. Hence why you see the dampened magic slot. Mutagen, since we're vampire and we do have a decently sized health pool, it's not huge, but it's pretty decent. We are benefiting a lot from the Undeath passive. Mutagen is one of those spells that kind of saves you from being executed when you're in execute range. It gives you a burst heal. And plus, when you're in your undeath state, you take less damage. So the way this skill works is very underrated. Say if you have like a Mage's Wrath or whatever on you, this heal will proc before that Wrath procs. So this will actually pull you out of the execute range before it procs, so you won't die. So this is very, very helpful. Plus, it cleanses one harmful effect. More than likely, you're going to have like 20 negative effects on you, but whatever. That's why I prefer Mutagen. That little bit of burst heal, sometimes you need it. Hardened Ward, the other ward, is decent as well. It does give you even more recovery. It's cheaper to cost and lasts longer. I found that the duration really doesn't mean jack shit. And the minor intellect it gives you, yeah, it does apply to your whole group. So if you're wanting to run like a 4-man group, the minor intellect is a really nice buff. So you might want to run that. But if you're running solo or duos, typically like I do, Hardened Ward is definitely the way you want to go. Notice that the value it gives you is 11,557. That should be half of your health. We're right at that. Any more in our CP tree or less, you'll not benefit fully from the 50% passive. So we'll get into that in just a moment. Because there's a little bit of math you got to kind of fine tune to get the sweet spot, so to speak, on your ward strength. Next is Dampen Magic. Here this entire 3 years playing ESO, I've never recommended this skill ever. It's absolute dog shit. But this patch, With this much of sustain, this build, I dueled a really decent Magplar before I made this build video. About 7-8 minutes of dueling, just in the open world. We become a bee's dick from killing each other, but the entire time I had no sustain issues. He was putting out a shit ton of damage, but even though it costs 4,000 Magicka, it really, you really don't feel it on this build. It just feels like you're casting another Hardened Ward. You don't miss Harness at all. And since I would say 70% of the classes right now are stamina, this will help you sustain against them. It really will. Oh, and it doesn't show in the tooltip, but since we're running 511, that's 5 light, that's 30% extra to your dampen magic. So you add 30% of the 8,500, which puts you just below the 50% threshold, like literally like 100, 200 points just below it. But that really doesn't matter. So essentially, with these two wards, you have 100% of your health bar covered. So that's like 23k worth of damage mitigation. Not to mention the Sigil Order skill line for when you block. You get a pretty decent barrier as well. That's 3k. And our CP tree also gives you a little shield as well. So all that together, you have a lot of shields. Last two abilities, Dark Conversion. It did take a little bit of nerf. It's a nerf and a buff. You get less of the resources back instantly, which is kind of what you want. Instead, it gives it to you over time. I don't think you can get away with not running this. Sometimes you need to streak 4 or 5 times to get the fuck away. You're max stamina, and you gotta get your resources back. Since we have access to a third bar, I mean, this is pretty essential. You don't want to sit there and spam this. Trust me, you're not gonna want to do that. But if you're kiting really hard, this is your best friend. I'll show you how to work this rotation in just a minute. Ball Lightning. This is super defensive on our back bar. Don't run streak. I mean, this absorbs projectiles. It absorbs meteors if you time it correctly. It absorbs special bows. Pretty much anything. So this is a lot of mitigation as well. And plus it stuns whoever's on you, which will most likely be a Stamplar or a fucking Stamina Warden. So that's pretty awesome. Last but not least, Temporal Guard. This is to get that shield from when we do have to block occasionally on our back bar. And this gives you like a rewind. You can jump off a cliff, people chase you, and you rewind back up, outplay people. And plus it gives you your minor protection, which increases your mitigation by 8%. This applies to wards, of course. Alternatively, if you're finding yourself getting absolutely zeroed down, run the Lights Champion. You're damn near invincible for 5 seconds. And these buffs persist even after the effect ends for another 5 seconds. So it's like a 10-second shitstorm you can occur. So it's super defensive in nature, but it's also very offensive due to the. Of course, I get a text right in the middle of this recording. It also gives you, more crit damage. So essentially, people are training you, and you have like one last ditch effort. You pop this, and you just blow your load on someone. Hopefully, you kill them. But with this ability active, you pretty much are invulnerable unless you get absolutely fucking bursted, which is possible. So that's a really good ability as well. That does it for the bar setups, guys. I don't need to go over the passives. You guys played this enough. If you're new, just anything that seems like it will help your dude, just slot it. Alright, okay. You do need medicinal use. You can max this tree out in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Other than that, passives, just anything that sounds good, slot it. Supernatural recovery on death. Heavy armor, your Juggernaut gets you a little bit more maximum health. But other than that, that's the gear setup. That's the bars. On to the CP tree. Alright. So, LE Expert 64, 52, 51. I'll just quickly go through these. No one wants to sit here and look at this for any longer than they have to. I will explain this one a little bit. This is to get the reinforced. This does give you a little bit of a damage shield when you block, which is, it's a little bit, it's not much, but it does go a long way. Spell shield crit, ironclad. You don't have to run Unchained. Some sorts run Unchained to use Dark Conversion. You have so much stamina recovery, it really doesn't matter whether you run it or not. It's a pretty cheap ability anyway. Got 1919. The reason I have so many in thick skin, there's so many bleeds build guys. It's just absurd. You need to reduce your dot damage as much as possible. They'll just eat through your shields, just fucking gnaw through them. So get as much in thick skin as you can possibly spare. At 56 in the Bastion, a lot of people are saying you don't need any points in the Bastion. Yes and no. Depends on your maximum Magicka. With almost 42k maximum Magicka and 56 points in Bastion, you are guaranteed to hit the caps on your Hardened Ward and your Dampen. Dampen's like 100 points off, so whatever. But as close as you can really get without committing too many CP points. So the way it works is, if you want to raise if you have more maximum Magicka, you want less points in the Bastion. So if you have like 60k maximum Magicka, yeah, you probably wouldn't need any points in Bastion. But to make that even out, it may require a little bit of trial and error depending on your maximum health, your maximum Magicka, and how many points you have in Bastion. That's what determines your shield strength, those 3 factors. And I have 5 points left over, so I'll put them into Expert Defender. Everyone's live attacking you, so it helps add a little bit of mitigation. 66 Warlord, you're constantly CC'd. I have 1 point Siphoner just to cause a debuff on your opponent. Templars get real antsy and they want to cleanse fucking everything. Even though this does absolutely nothing, it does apply a debuff, and they may waste a couple cleanses or two, which is wasting their resources, so a great value point there. 64 Arcanus, 37 Mooncalf. Essentially pretty high recoveries. 51. You could probably put more points into Tumbling, but you probably should. But I find myself in a lot of 1v2 situations, and you do have to block, so I just put these in there evenly. As far as the blue tree, however, I wouldn't change this too much. You could put more points in the Elfborn while sacking a little bit and shattering blows, but shields are still an issue. We don't have super high bursty damage, so this helps with shielded opponents, ever so much. And to be honest, guys, crit damage, if you put a lot of points into this, you could get to like 23%. I mean, what's 4% crit damage? Especially when you're only running on this build. Optimally, you'll have 42%, a little bit higher, but right now it's just sitting at 32%. Everything fully buffed. Oh my god, look at that screen tear. Jesus Christ. Everything fully buffed. It kind of didn't go over, but and with the weapon damage probably you'll go up to like 2700-ish spell damage. My fucking food ran out. Yeah, much better. But yeah, recovery's at 2300. If you have a Battle Spirit bonus, this pops up to damn near 2800. So literally infinite sustain there. So if you have your continuous attack, sorry, not Battle Spirit, continuous attack. If you have that shit going and you're popping, your pops like you're supposed to, you're gonna have a shit ton. Like, I don't even think you can waste this. You could probably streak like 10 times and get away just fine. But I hope you guys enjoyed the build. I'll try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. I will be streaming Tuesday for several hours, and possibly on Wednesday and Thursday as well, depending on who and all I can get on, hop in my groups, etc. Depends how pissed off I get in open world. It's been a while since I've done an open world build or even been here. Regardless, I'm really enjoying it. Murkmire is a pretty decent patch overall. Different play styles. They just gotta do something about fucking Stamplars. I'll rant on that in another video, but this wraps it up, guys. Please go follow my Twitch. My Twitch is obviously my gamer tag and my name on YouTube. That will help out a lot. I'm not sure which platform I'm going to be streaming on. Maybe YouTube, maybe Twitch. I haven't really decided yet. Like and sub is appreciated. And again, in the comments, tell me what you did and did not like in the video, so I don't do it in the future ones. Really tilt you guys even more. Tell me what I did wrong. Tell me what I did good. I'm always open to criticism. But thank you for watching the video, guys, and take care. Peace.